about that, but I do have a good relationship with Kim Jong-un. As you know, you've seen. He didn't like Biden. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like anybody, but he likes me, and I just got along with him very good. We had great meetings. We speak, and I think our nation, and I think other nations, frankly, whether it's Japan or South Korea, they're a lot safer if I'm president than if somebody else is president. Now, I didn't like the fact that we're doing these massive military exercises, really against North Korea. It was an exercise against North Korea. When I'm friendly with him, when we have, I don't see anything happening for certainly 2.5 years. It's not going to happen with me. I called recently the president of South Korea, who I like. I think he's very nice, actually. But I called him. I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no, thanks. And I said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange. No, we'd rather not get involved. I say, well, why are we involved in helping you? So, and I want to help them, but, when you ask somebody, would you like to give us a hand, and they say, no, thanks, and then we're guarding them from a country and paying ourselves billions of dollars. It's costing us billions and billions of dollars to protect not only them, but other countries. Look at NATO.
South Korea is now facing a very different kind of American pressure. After Donald Trump accused Seoul of refusing to help the United States in its Iran operation, Washington has moved to cut short its annual military exercises with South Korea. And Seoul has now confirmed something that could send a very uncomfortable message across Asia. The Ulchi Freedom Shield drills, which were supposed to continue until August 27th, will now end on August 21st, 6 days early. And this wasn't Seoul's idea. South Korea says the adjustment came after a proposal from the U.S. side. The scale of some field training will also be reduced. For Seoul, this is not simply about 6 days disappearing from a military calendar. This is about trust. Because these exercises are one of the most visible symbols of the U.S.-South Korea security alliance. An alliance built around one central promise. If North Korea attacks, the United States stands with South Korea. So why is Washington suddenly stepping back? And why has Donald Trump linked South Korea's military relationship with America to a completely different battlefield? Iran? That's where this story gets explosive. Trump has been openly furious that South Korea refused to provide support for the U.S. operation against Iran. Speaking at the White House, Trump pointed directly at the roughly 39,000 American troops stationed in South Korea and questioned why Seoul would not help Washington with what he described as an easy military operation against Iran. Trump's message was essentially this: America is protecting South Korea from North Korea. So why won't South Korea help America against Iran? And now Seoul is paying the price. The annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise is being shortened. The exercise began on August 17th and was originally scheduled to run through August 27th. It will now conclude on August 21st. The Allies are also reducing some of the field training component, although the exact details of those reductions are still being worked out. Reuters reports that the second phase involving counterattack operations has been canceled, with some training shifted towards simulations. And this is precisely why South Korea is watching Washington nervously, because the timing is extraordinary. The drills are being cut back at the same moment Trump is talking about his very good relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And according to a Wall Street Journal report, Trump is now pushing his aides to arrange another face-to-face meeting with Kim as early as this fall. That could potentially happen during Trump's next Asia trip, possibly around the APEC summit in China in November. So put the pieces together. Washington is angry with Seoul over Iran. Washington is reducing military exercises with Seoul. Trump is stressing his personal relationship with Kim Jong-un. And now Trump is reportedly pushing for another summit with the North Korean leader. For South Korea, that combination is impossible to ignore, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. North Korea remains a nuclear-armed state. Pyongyang continues to develop its missile capabilities. And North Korea has deepened military ties with Russia, including sending troops to support Russia's war in Ukraine. So Seoul has every reason to ask, If America's military presence in South Korea is being scaled back while Trump is trying to improve ties with Kim Jong-un, what exactly happens to the security equation on the Korean peninsula? And there is another twist. South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Hyun told lawmakers that neither South Korean nor U.S. officials had been aware beforehand of Trump's plan to reduce the exercises. That means Seoul wasn't even prepared for the announcement. And that could be the most unsettling part of this entire episode. Because alliances are not only about weapons. They are also about communication, predictability, and trust. If one ally learns about a major military policy decision after it is announced publicly, questions about the strength of that alliance are inevitable. South Korea has nevertheless tried to keep its response measured. Seoul says the period and scale of the exercise have been adjusted following the U.S. proposal. But beneath the diplomatic language is a much bigger strategic question. Is Trump trying to redefine what America's security commitment to South Korea actually looks like? The United States has around 28,500 troops stationed in South Korea. And the annual exercises are designed to make sure those forces can operate alongside South Korean troops in the event of a conflict. The exercises aren't simply ceremonial. They involve command post simulations, field training, and preparations for a range of threats. So cutting the drills doesn't automatically mean that the U.S. is abandoning South Korea. American officials continue to insist that the core objectives of the exercise remain intact. But analysts have warned that reducing these exercises can affect readiness and alliance coordination. And that is particularly important because military command structures and personnel change regularly. You don't want to discover that coordination has weakened when a real crisis begins. Now look at what North Korea is saying. Pyongyang has long condemned U.S.-South Korean military exercises as preparations for invasion. North Korea has described the drills as a rehearsal for aggressive war. So Washington's decision to scale them back is likely to be welcomed in Pyongyang. And then comes Trump's renewed outreach to Kim. Trump has already met Kim Jong-un 3 times during his earlier presidency. In Singapore, Hanoi, and at the demilitarized zone. Those meetings did not produce a lasting denuclearization deal. But Trump clearly believes his personal relationship with Kim can still be useful. And the possibility of another summit now appears to be gaining momentum. So is Trump actually trying to trade military pressure for diplomacy? Is he reducing the drills because he believes Kim will respond positively? Or is this simply another part of Trump's broader demand that America's allies do more and pay more for their own security? South Korea now has to navigate all 3 possibilities. And there is a major regional audience watching this unfold. Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, and America's other partners across the Indo-Pacific. Because what happens to the U.S.-South Korea alliance could become a test case for every American security partner wondering the same thing. How dependable is Washington when American priorities suddenly shift? Remember, Trump's decision comes amid the massive U.S. focus on Iran. American military resources and attention have been heavily concentrated on the Middle East. And Trump has made it clear that he expects allies to contribute when the United States goes to war. South Korea said no to helping with the Iran operation. Trump responded by publicly questioning that decision. And now, days later, one of the biggest joint military exercises between America and South Korea is being shortened. That sequence is impossible to miss. But there is one thing Seoul may actually welcome: diplomacy with North Korea. South Korea has indicated that it hopes Trump's outreach to Kim could create an opportunity for dialogue. The problem is that diplomacy has to deliver something more than photographs. Because North Korea's nuclear arsenal has grown. Its missile capabilities have expanded. Its military partnership with Russia has deepened. And Kim Jong-un has shown little interest in giving up his nuclear weapons simply because Washington offers another summit. So South Korea now has to walk a very narrow line. It wants peace. It wants dialogue. But it also needs deterrence. And today, the question haunting Seoul is whether Washington can deliver both. Because Trump's latest move has created a remarkable situation. The United States is cutting back military exercises with its key Asian ally. Trump is demanding more from that ally over Iran. At the same time, he is trying to reopen the door to Kim Jong-un. And South Korea says it wasn't even warned in advance. So this may be much bigger than a 6-day military exercise. It could be an early signal of a changing U.S. strategy in Asia. a strategy where Trump wants fewer costly exercises, more burden sharing from allies, and direct diplomacy with America's adversaries. For South Korea, however, there is one question that matters above everything else. If the next crisis comes from North Korea, will Washington still be standing shoulder to shoulder with Seoul? Because today, that question is no longer being asked quietly. It is being asked openly. And with Trump now pushing for another Kim Jong UN meeting, the answer could shape the future of the Korean Peninsula and America's entire security architecture in Asia.